What is up, guys? Matt the Riffmaster here, and we are joined by
Hello, my name is Daniel P. Carter. I present the Radio 1 Rock Show and I play guitar in a band called Krokodil.
See you later. Awesome, so that's who we're hanging out with right now. He's taking the time to come and hang with us for a quick interview. Now, we know...
He heard there was free beer. That was
he heard there was free beer. He was actually drinking coffee and beer, so it's kind of a nice mixture there.
Like tiramisu.
Lovely. So we got some people in the background. You may hear them chuckling along, and the loud noises because we're at Bloodstock Festival, so it's loud. So you're a man of many talents. Am I correct?
I'm a man of few talents, and I spread myself too thin. But yeah, I like doing lots of different things. I like playing music. I like painting. I like presenting radio shows. I like interviewing people. I run a podcast. I curate a stage at Reading and Leeds, and I'm a bit of a dick.
It's a bit of a dick. Aren't we all though sometimes?
Yeah, exactly, that's it. Most people aren't too afraid to admit it, but at this point I'm all about it.
You've got to be honest, especially when you're on camera.
Of course.
Absolutely. So where should we start? I mean, you do radio. Do you want to tell us a little bit about that?
That was so I come to Bloodstock every year. I love it here. It's wicked. I mean, the vibe's always excellent. I like the fact that it's family run because it actually has that really close-knit feel to it. Yeah. And normally I come every year and do all the stuff for Scuzz, or like interview bands and stuff for that.
Oh wow, that's cool.
And then listen to that. And then often what will happen is, like, if I'm doing interviews with bands for Scuzz, they give us the audio and then I use certain bits for Radio 1 as well. But they're not here this year. And I was due to come yesterday as well, but I had at the drive-in, we're in Maida Vale doing a session for me, so I went down, had to go down to that. So I missed out on a monomath, and I heard there was a lot of fire, a lot of people rowing.
I don't think we caught that show, did we? I'm on a Marth. Yeah. We heard it, but yeah, it was good.
Yeah, I heard it was amazing, but I missed out. But so today I'm just here primarily for Ghost, and I really wanted to see King 810 as well, but I got here.
They were insane.
Yeah, I got here late. I heard that was amazing, so that's a bum out. But it is what it is.
They were King 810 were really good. Like one of the best live bands I've seen.
They're an incredible band, and I think he's an amazing artist as well. Yeah. And I think a lot of people don't quite see the depth to the stuff that he does. He's like an incredible artist. Yeah.
So you've also been in bands and are in a band. So maybe name a few of the bands that you've been in previously, and then the one that you're in now currently.
So I like all of them. Like, I'm a total, like, I've played in bands since I was little. So of any that people may have heard of, but probably haven't. Right. I used to play in a band called Above All that was signed to Roadrunner, that was like a straight edge metal band. And then I discovered beer and weed. Then I played in a band called A. That was like, I did that for probably like 8 or 9 years. And then I started working at Radio 1. And then whilst I was doing that, I played in a band called Hexes, which was like a hardcore band. I played in a band called the Bloodhound Gang, because I just got asked to do that because my old band toured with them a bunch. And they asked if I'd play guitar for them, and I said no. But then they booked like a series of shows. It was a festival called Soundwave around Australia, and it was with like 9 Inch Nails and Lamb of God and Dillinger Escape Plan and like a bunch of amazing bands. And then so I ended up doing that, and did that for a while until a terrible thing happened. And then
should we not talk about that?
It's such a long story.
Maybe some other time.
Yeah. Suffice to say, I'm never allowed to go back to Russia. For real. Anyway, and then I play in a band called Krokodil with a bunch of mates that were all in other bands, like 2 of the guys from Sixth, one of the guys from Gallows, 2 guys from a grindcore band called Liber Necris.
Is that the band you're in currently?
Yeah. Yeah, and we put an album out a while ago now, actually.
Right. What's the album called?
It's called Nakash. And that came out on Spine Farm, and then we were due to start another record a while ago, but Sixth have just put out a new album and they were working on that, so it kind of pushed our thing back, which is, it is what it is.
So you said you're in that band with someone from the Gallows.
Yeah.
Who is it? Which
Lags, the guitarist.
Oh, the guitarist.
Was in Gallows. James and Dan were the rhythm section in 6th.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
Sounds like a nice little lineup. So that and the radio thing, they're your two main things. You said earlier that you do some painting as well.
Yeah.
Which is kind of cool.
That was nice.
That was nice.
Yeah, and that's another thing I do. That's what I studied initially. That's what the whole plan was that I was going to do in my life, was to do like album covers and stuff. But it ended up like the first band that I met to do their artwork was a band called A, and it was to do the artwork for their first album, and we hung out all day and I was obsessed with bands like Jane's Addiction, and so were they, and we just hung out all day talking about music. And they kind of kicked their bass player out, or he might have left, whichever. And they asked me to join the band, but I didn't get to do their artwork. But I did get to, and then I did that for like 8 or 9 years. Yeah. So I didn't really have much chance to do anything because we were touring constantly. But yeah, and I've started painting again, and I've just done stuff for Behemoth, Cradle of Filth, Vision of Disorder, Him. Me and That Man, which is Nergal from Behemoth's new kind of dark country sort of thing. I just did the artwork for that. Frank Iero, the guitarist that used to be in My Chemical Romance, is amazing. Yeah.
So you obviously know a lot of people. So say going back to your radio thing you do, I'm assuming you get to interview a lot of very cool people.
Yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah, I guess so. I'm in the lucky position now where I get to choose who I want to interview.
Oh, really? Just them, and then...
No, that makes me sound even more of a dick than I actually am. But do you know what I mean? Like, because obviously I have a whole team of people that work on my show. Yeah. So I get to essentially just interview the people that I really want to sit and have a conversation with.
That's cool, isn't it? It's always good when somebody you want to speak to. Sometimes when there's somebody you'd not.
It's not that I don't want to speak to other people. It's just that if I did every single interview that doesn't happens on my show, I'd be like just doing that constantly. Yeah. But yeah, and then I started doing this podcast as well, because the thing with radio is they obviously don't want people to, because everything has to be like certain lengths. Yeah. You know, everything needs to be kind of punchy and tight and stuff like that as far as interviews go. But I can still play like 12-minute Doom tracks. But as far as the interviews go, they like it to be really snappy and stuff. So I started doing a podcast called Someone Who Isn't Me, or Swim. And that's like where I just get to sit and talk to artists that I like in bands that I feel have an interest in, because I really like a lot of esoteric and occult stuff. Right. So I kind of have a feeling about people I know that I'll be able to have decent conversations with. Because I feel like making music is actually a very magical thing, and it sounds like but you know, like if you can change someone's emotional state through sound, that's a magical thing. Yeah, I totally agree. So I like having conversations with people about that. So I've had.
Who's the most well-known band that people might be like,
the podcast?
Yeah, that might be like, wow, that's awesome.
I don't know, like the first few were Chino was the first one, Chino from Deftones, Corey from Slipknot, Ollie from Bring Me the Horizon, Scott Ian, Maynard from Tool, Jazz Coleman from Killing Joke, John from Baroness, Jake from Converge, Jason from Let Live. Yeah, like, you know. But people that I really think will be amazing. Laura Jane Grace from Against Me was incredible. Yeah.
That's I'm speechless. That's awesome. Some of those people, like, wow.
Maynard was a big one for me because like their Tool is my favourite band ever. Yeah. So, and he doesn't really do many interviews, so that was cool. I had Pussifer did a session for my show, and I got him to do the podcast after that, which was wicked because he was quite closed up, like wasn't very forthcoming. But after a while, we kind of got into it, and I know that he's into a lot of occult stuff, or no, esoteric stuff is a better way of saying it. Right. But he doesn't really like talking about it. But we got there in the end. But
few
yeah,
beers, mate.
No, yeah, a bottle of wine. He gave me a good bottle of wine actually because he has a vineyard. But yeah.
Oh, lovely. So, say for anyone who maybe wants to go down the same road of doing some of the things that you do, okay, like myself, I am obviously being here at Bloodstock this weekend, being able to interview some bands, some guitarists. It's really cool, and it's something that I've kind of wanted to do and I like to do. So any advice in kind of going down that road, do's, don'ts, this way, that way, forwards and backwards?
I don't know really. Like I fell into doing the radio thing totally by chance. Somebody just called me up out of the blue and said, do you want to present the Radio 1 rock show? And I went, yeah. And but the thing, it turned out that they got 14 people and everyone had to do a pilot, and they whittled it down to 4, and then we all did another pilot. Then it got whittled down to 2 people. It was me and my friend Katie, who worked at Kerrang, and then we did a co-host, and then in the end I got the job, and I've done it for like a decade now, which is nuts.
Wow.
But I've just found that the best thing you can do is just be honest with people and just. Like I'm not really a fan of that whole, so your new album's come out and it's called this, tell me about, because I mean they're great ways to start a conversation, but I feel like a good interview is actually a conversation with someone, because like if you connect with somebody properly in a conversation, then when people are on a press junket, right, which is always the way, like a band will have a new album come out and they'll come in to London from wherever they are in the world. They've got jet lag. They'll do an interview with Radio 1, they'll do an interview with Kerrang, they'll do an interview with Metal Hammer, they'll do an interview with Rock Sound, blah 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 blah, right, the list, depending on which band it is, and invariably it'll be, so your new album's called this, I've got a press release and I know that you did the album with this person, why did you, do you know what I mean? And a lot of people get asked the same questions and then they fall into a routine of just like it's stock answers, right? And then it's like, well, you can pick up any magazine or listen to any interview when those people have been on those, and it will feel like you're just listening. They're all interchangeable, and that's no one's fault. That's not the interviewer's fault, and that's not the artist's fault, because they just fall into a routine of doing it. But if you have a conversation with someone and you throw things in that kind of take the conversation in different directions, and then touch on things with the album and lyrics or certain things that you might have picked out. Like for me, because I have certain interests, if I hear a record, I'll hear maybe little things in there that I interpret in a way that it relates to things that I'm interested in. And I have a feeling that that person that's written that song might have that same interest, right? And if you throw a bit in about that, then it suddenly becomes a conversation, and it's a lot more interesting. I don't want to be a dick and kind of drop names, but the best one like that I found was with Manson, because he came in like
Charles Manson.
It would be, that would be interesting. That got on really well with Charles Manson. That would be interesting. No, like, and I knew that he had interest in certain occult things. And his press officer was stood in the background going 5 minutes, like this, kind of wrap it up, because there was very allotted times for each person. And then as the time was coming up, I kind of just blurted out this question about a certain thing, like an image, like certain iconography within his work, that's a recurring thing, and it's something that I'm really interested in. I have it's a certain type of cross, and I have it tattooed on my body and stuff. And I was like, why do you use this? And he just went, oh, and he poured himself another absinthe, put his feet up, and we spoke for another 40 minutes. And every time his press officer came in, he'd be like, properly wave him off. And then since then, we've had we have a really good connection and stuff. So, it's just about a good interview. And the thing that is gratifying for you as an interviewer, I think, is when you find those things, that common ground, because at the end of the day, everybody that's making music is doing it because they've come from exactly the same place as everybody else, right? We're all obsessed with music as we're kids, so that's what everything you want to do. Any way you can be involved in that is the most important thing, right? So you've got to remember that those people in those bands are the exact same people as you.
It's
everyone that watches interviews and stuff.
I spoke to a few people yesterday that were like me, sort of growing up, they'd be watching bands live and they'd listen to music and they think, I want to do that, and they're doing it now. And to me, it was like it just made me smile when they said it, because it's cool to see someone's gone from being like a childhood dream to actually doing it, like being on stage at a festival. And I just thought that's really cool. People that can, you know, really do it, but obviously it's not an easy thing. The same with things you do. Well, obviously you got into it fairly easy, but it doesn't mean you didn't work your ass off.
But the thing is, I think that I've been lucky in the sense that like opportunities have appeared out of nowhere. And it seems ridiculous, and I'm a very superstitious person, I put that down to certain things. But at the end of the day, the thing that I think will always stand every band in good stead as they're starting is, if you are not a prick, you will have way better chances than everyone else. Because like I've done a bunch of things where I'll go into like BIM, you know, and different music colleges, and people will be like, what piece of advice have you got? And I say, don't be a prick. And it sounds like a really stupid, like, but it's true though. It is, it's vitally true, because as I point out, everybody that's in that class wants to do the same thing, right? Everyone, you know, that's playing in a band or as a songwriter, they all want to do the same things. So you've got everybody fighting for that same thing. And in our world, in rock and metal, the opportunities the DIY opportunities are amazing, and that's the way forward. But, you know, if, you know, living the big dream or whatever, you know, those opportunities become fewer and fewer. And I always found that if a band turns up to a show, right, if they're a support band opening up, they've got a local slot or whatever, and they turn up and they act like pricks, that gets noted, and that will stay next to that band's name and the people in that band for a bunch of time, because somebody else will go, oh, we need a local band to open this show. Oh, what about this lot? No, the guitarist was a prick. He made a total nightmare for everybody. Oh, but there's this band as well. Okay, they might not be as good and they might not draw as many people, but they're going to be way less hassle, and they're nice dudes, and everybody wants to help out people that are good dudes, and ladies.
And ladies. Absolutely, yeah. I mean, if you can get some people that are very prickish, as we put it, the way you put it. And
so, but then, you know, whatever. Sorry.
Okay. Cut. Are you here just for tonight, or are you here for tomorrow as well?
No, I do my show on a Sunday night, so I got to head back tomorrow. So I'm here primarily, like I said, for Ghost, because I think they're amazing. And then heading back down to London tomorrow.
Awesome. Well, I mean, I think that's everything. I mean,
I do run on a bit. Sorry.
That's cool. Just chat. We maybe carry on the conversation another time. But I mean, if we want like a 5-hour interview,
I'm your man.
Yeah.
You can get talking about conspiracy theories and stuff. Yeah.
Everyone loves one of them. So, like you said, you've got a podcast. Where could people maybe go to check that out?
They go to iTunes and search Someone Who Isn't Me, or they can go to acast.com and / Someone Who Isn't Me.
Awesome. I'll put links and all that sort of stuff down below. And if people want to check out, they can, because I mean, this man can talk, and he talks a lot of sense. Or would you not agree with that one?
Yeah, it depends.
Depends how much of that you're drinking. Yeah. Or could that enhance the content?
It's a give or take thing.
Awesome. Well, thank you for taking the time and hanging out. And like I said, safe. I like your tattoos, by the way.
Thanks.
Awesome. They're not real. Just got creative with a Sharpie. So guys, thanks for watching. Go check out his podcast if you like talking interesting things. He spoke to some very cool people, and it will be definitely worth a listen. I'll be checking it out for sure. Cool. So guys, as always, we've been here with this awesome dude, Daniel. Actually, I'll let him do it because
Daniel P. Carter.
I like the way he says it.
P's important.
P is in. What does the P stand for? Is it Peter?
It depends. No, it's not Peter. But it depends on who you talk to, I guess.
Okay. You decide that one for yourselves. So guys, thanks for watching. As always, we've been at Bloodstock, rocking out, and as always, rock out. Be awesome. See ya.